seems that we're having a technical challenge here. But this is actually the website of the project, and it is Mapping Jamaica dashboard. So this is the website. The pictures that you see on there are depicting some of the key issues or developments in Jamaica. The first slide you may have seen is the construction of the Mount Russell bypass, a segment, as I indicated just now, that was opened on the 5th. And you also saw pictures of the Highway 2000 network that is still under construction, because whilst the main trunk of it has been completed, the idea is to have that highway run from Kingston to Montego Bay on the south side, and there is talk of a link between Port Antonio and St. Thomas on the eastern end of the island. Many of you are already aware that there's a North Coast Highway that links Port Antonio with Negril. So when Highway 2000 is fully built out, you will then have a ring around the island with the connection of the North-South link from Caymanas right into Ocherius. Now, you also saw on there the agro park, and the government has implemented 8 agro parks, which are really mother farms that will be fed into by smaller subsistence farming. And that was done because the food import bill of Jamaica is $1 billion United States dollars, right? And currently, in those agro parks, the potatoes, onions, and these are some of where the high volume imports are being grown to substitute the importation. And the hope is to cut the importation bill where those are concerned by about $500 million over time. Now, you also saw the, I think it was a high school, I think it was Jonathan Grant High School, and what is happening is that the government is actually moving to introduce what they call the STEM program in the secondary school system, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So there's going to be a shift to more technical subjects, because the reality is that the reorientation of the economy is going to call for that. Then it took you to the page that spoke about the mapping project that gave you the background, and in much of my presentation it spoke to that. It also spoke about the role of the IOM, why the mapping exercise is important, and just to point out that this mapping exercise is not unique to Jamaica, but there are other diaspora locations that have done it, and I mentioned some of them in my statement. Then it took you to the actual surveys, and as I indicated, the survey, there are really 2 surveys, one for individuals, and that's the first one, and the second one is for organizations. We are interested in both, because that will allow us to know for certain and have empirical data as to the numbers of Jamaicans that want to be engaged in the process, how they would like to be engaged in the process, and then we can direct that engagement. In relation to the organizations, we are equally interested in the organizations that are engaged in Jamaica, and to see how we can work with them. The survey shouldn't take you more than 10, a maximum of 15 minutes to fill out. And I think we have some flyers here that we're going to distribute to you with the website on there that you can in fact go on and to fill out the information. What I would suggest is that you can also assist persons, because there may be persons who may not be too au fait with the technology. And if there are those persons, I would encourage those of you who are to assist them in filling out the information. And one of the things that we have asked to be done, and we are encouraging to happen, is that there are existing events that take place on an annual basis in the diaspora. Canada recently they had Jambana, and a number of persons attend, and if people could encourage persons to sign up on that, it would be helpful. So this is the actual survey itself that you're seeing there, and the questions that are asked. I can give you an example of one. It says here, who can participate in the survey, and it will go through frequently asked questions, which is really a standard thing, and give you information about the survey itself. Let me just point out that we are interested in your feedback. This survey was actually tested before it was concluded. But notwithstanding, if persons are going through the survey and they feel that there's information there that could be added, you can feed that back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through the contact section that is on the link, and the adjustments can be made in future surveys going out. As I've indicated, this is an online survey, it's an ongoing survey. So whilst we are building up to 2015 with the 100,000, and that's really to create what we call a positive momentum. After 2015, this site is going to be up, and Jamaicans will have the opportunity to register. We hope to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records as having the largest diaspora database in the world. We already have the record for the most churches per square mile. So we are hopeful that we will make it into the Guinness Book of Records with your help. So that is really what it's about. My apologies for the technical glitches. At least it is better than in Connecticut. We couldn't see anything in Connecticut. But this is online, and we are going to send the flyer around. But for those of you, it's www.mapjadiaspora.iom.int. So we encourage you to participate in this website. And as you can see, it is very professionally done with the Jamaican coat of arms, the IOM signal, the full works.
Could you now pose, if you have questions, because I think the minister was so clear, but if there's anything you want a little clarification on, I'm sure he will be willing to answer. Yes. The lady here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Desita Gray, and I was just wondering, are you planning on doing outreach, community outreach? Because, I mean, there are so few of us here, and there are millions of...
It's being streamed now, by the way.
Pardon me?
The short answer to that is yes. This is actually part of the outreach. As I indicated to you, we launched the exercise in Kingston on the 10th of June. We were in Birmingham, I think it was the 13th of June, in London on the 17th of June. We were in Toronto about the 9th of July. And I am here in the United States specifically because we are promoting this mapping exercise. I arrived Sunday, went to Connecticut, was in Connecticut, had 6 events there. I'm here tonight. I'm going to Philadelphia tomorrow, Delaware. Where else am I going?
New Jersey.
New Jersey, right. So I'll be
Maryland.
Maryland, right. So quite a number of places. But notwithstanding that, every person here this evening represents a family. They represent a network.
Church.
They represent a church. In London, we met specifically with members of the clergy. We had about 20 or 30 pastors that we met with in London. That was deliberate. And we have encouraged them to encourage their membership to sign up on the website. I mean, quite frankly, there is so much possibility in this particular tool. It is not even funny. I don't think we have begun to scratch the surface, but it's better we start somewhere. And once we get the database populated, we are then able to move from there in terms of making decisions in a more informed and empirical manner, right? So yes, the roadshow, and part of our strategy, and I just give you an example. When the Irish were building their database, they called on former President Bill Clinton. Now, I'm sure that he has probably a very minor amount of Irish in him, right? I'm sure about it. But he was enlisted, and we are seeking to identify some champions to support the process as well. And as I indicated, we don't take lightly the endorsement of Merlin Otti in relation to the mapping project. Certainly she lives in Europe, and she does still have a very strong following in terms of Jamaicans and other persons, and I think that's important. So yes, we're rolling it out. You would direct traffic.
Yes, there's a gentleman around. Yes, okay.
Philip Bedward, Caribbean Market Solutions and Pathways Data. That initiative is something that was launched by our organization since 2004. And I know a part of it was spearheaded by the former CJ. And that has populated with quite a number of data in terms of the human resource information. Who we are, where we are, and what we are. Are you aware of that situation?
Well, I don't know if that information was handed over to the government of Jamaica, but you're welcome to hand it over under this umbrella, right? Let me put it to you this way. Any database that is already in existence can be migrated on this platform, or the information can be shared if you so desire. There was a project that was done in the United Kingdom alone. They have 1,000 persons on that database. That information is with the JDI, which is Jamaica Diaspora Institute, and it will also form part of this particular database.
Secondly, you mentioned about us getting involved and to take our checkbooks, and there are a number of initiatives that are on the table currently from Jamaicans. Our company also has one in education, which with the MOU from the ministry. But so far, in this morning, I was told and was correct that not because you have an MOU, we'll use your service. I said, oh, that's what I mean. We are saying that to a very great extent, we think that we are being slighted by our Jamaican people, our Jamaican government. I can tell you that one. I have one where my colleagues came to Jamaica to offer a pharmaceutical plant, and that also was turned down. Are you planning to change that situation now for us? Because we have been trying.
You know, the information you're giving is not quite adequate to respond, and quite frankly, somewhat. Yeah, well, no problem. You can talk to me off the air. That's what you do. Is what I'm getting at. You know, let me just say this to you. What I can say is this. I would never say that Jamaicans have not had a challenge in terms of interacting with the bureaucracy, for want of a better word. That is obvious. But what I am prepared to say to you is that the attitude in relation to how the diaspora is engaged is changing. That was evident in 2013 if you came to the diaspora conference, and I'm challenging you to come to the diaspora conference next year, but you don't have to wait until then to deal with the issue that you have. My approach, and any member who has engaged me will recognize that I'm very accommodating. I attempt to see how we can resolve whatever issues persons may have. And you saying what you're saying to us, I don't have the full picture. I would certainly have to find out if, as you say, it was turned down, what is the reason, why? And then we can take it from there. So, in relation to treatment of members of the diaspora, again, the current president of the JAMPRO, which is one of the main arms of government that deals with trade promotion and investment, is a member that was recruited from the diaspora. But even before she came there, the Diaspora Conference of 2013 had JAMPRO playing a critical role because we indicated to them that they have to treat members of the diaspora how they would treat any investor that they are seeking to get into the country. And I would say to you that as time marches on, I expect that you will see the treatment of members of the diaspora who are interested in investing in Jamaica improve and improve exponentially. In my presentation just now I spoke that the mapping exercise will also be linked to the Global Business Connect project or portal of JAMPRO. And that portal, although it doesn't say so, is deliberately designed to identify members of the diaspora who are interested in investing in Jamaica. So that there is a deliberate effort on the part of the government of Jamaica to engage members of the diaspora who are interested in investing in Jamaica. I want to make a further point. The issue of doing business in Jamaica is a challenging one. And it's not only challenging for members of the diaspora, but for everybody who wants to invest in Jamaica. And if you look at the competitiveness report or the doing business report, you will recognize that the ranking of Jamaica, well, the last ranking were about 91 out of 100 and something countries, and it's not because there is not improvement taking place, but the fact is you can't be complacent with the improvement because other persons who are competing for foreign direct investment are constantly upping their game. I say that to say to you that as part of the reform process that is taking place in terms of making it easier to do business, in terms of the formation of company, there's a super farm that has now been set up in Jamaica. All of the agencies that you have to go to get clearance in order to register your company, those soon will be linked by the information platform, and it will reduce drastically the length of time it takes for you to be able to set up a business in Jamaica. Also, there is a reform of the tax system that is taking place. There was the omnibus incentive legislation that was recently passed that has consolidated the business of incentives to persons who are investing based on the quantum of that investment, because obviously not everybody is going to be able to access the same level of incentives depending on how large the investment is. And there are a number of things that are happening to improve the business environment. I have heard of the stories of persons who have had unfortunate experiences, but similarly there are persons who have had positive experiences, and those stories also need to be told. I won't detain you here now with them, but suffice it to say, in your particular instance, my door is open and you are free to speak to me directly, and we can look and to see what your issue is and if it is one that can be resolved. But I maintain the statement that I have made, and I repeat it, that Jamaica remains open for business, not only for non-Jamaicans, but for Jamaicans in the diaspora.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Yes.
I really thanks. Lady in the green.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there. Okay, I understand that for the business opportunities, the tax breaks that are, I understand the government offered foreigners lucrative tax breaks, which is not shared with the locals. I don't know how.
That is not true. The incentives that are available in Jamaica are available to everybody, including Jamaicans. The fact is, though, that depending on the level of investment that will determine the type of incentives that you have. There is, for example, a recent piece of legislation that has been passed that speaks about mega projects. And a mega project would be in excess of $1 billion United States dollars. And I'll give you another example. Well, many of you would know that the government has recently passed casino gaming legislation. And under that legislation, only 3 licenses are going to be granted. To get those licenses, or even to qualify for those licenses, you have to upfront $150,000 US dollars. You have to build 2,000 new rooms. And it therefore means that you're looking at an expenditure of about 1 billion, probably Jamaican dollars in this particular instance, right? Of the 5 entities that have actually put in bids for one of these 3 licenses, one of them is a Jamaican company. And I think that there is interest in that in relation to members from the diaspora. But the point I'm making is this. And again, what the reform has done is that it has removed from the Minister of Finance discretion as to the granting of concessions and waivers and incentives. It has now made it rules-based. So once you fall into the categories that qualify, then it is almost an automatic thing that you will get the incentive that is applied. I go further. The amount of incentive that can be granted in any given year has been capped to about 1% of the overall GDP of the country. Because the view is, having looked at the granting of incentives over the period, and let me just say, the area where most incentives have been granted really is mainly in the area of tourism, right? Mostly, but other areas are also included. But let me just say that they have capped the amount of incentive that can be granted in any given fiscal year, and the number of years have been limited. But let me go even further. There is the creation of what they call the Junior Stock Exchange that gives 5-year tax break to companies who list on the Junior Stock Exchange, and in the first instance, and they can get up to 10 years tax break. Most of those companies that are listing on the Junior Stock Exchange are local companies. Some of them have diaspora interest. So to say that only foreigners are granted incentives is really not at all accurate. And in the new dispensation that we have going forward, I want to say that the opportunities for Jamaicans at home and abroad to access the incentives or to participate in the economy is even more diverse now than it has been in recent time. And that is to acknowledge, which I must do, that there are Jamaicans who have had challenges, as my brother just indicated. But let me say this. The fact, though, is that those persons who have navigated the, if you want to call it an obstacle course, who have navigated it successfully, have had significant returns on their investment. And I've been very clear, having become the Minister of State responsible for diaspora matters, that it is in the interest of Jamaica to ensure that Jamaicans are at the table participating in the economic fortunes of Jamaica. And let me tell you, those fortunes are set to rise, and to rise very rapidly. And we don't want Jamaicans to be coming when the ship has left port. We want them to be there before the boat moves. Or the ship. Yes. Yes. Don't want them to be like the harp when the rain come down and the door lock.